Like I think you're right. Like I think it definitely helps to have that, and just seeing that a lot of people who did wrestle are starting to have kids. There is a new wave, but I'd also think that how do you get new people in that don't have that connection, but maybe have found, other experiences like going into the jujitsu, right? Jujitsu
Right.
is another, thing. I know there's tons of kids that do karate and all these martial arts, but they don't get into wrestling for whatever reason. If you're that's a avenue that I think people will start to come into, that we haven't seen before. So yeah, I mean the high school, if this podcast or just the coverage or just the ongoing conversation can start like growing that pie, I think the future is awesome. I think honestly it's it's something that um you can't like plan it really that well. You just kind of do it. And I think that's something, I was realizing that too today with golf because I didn't golf very well. And I was just like, it's not about like if you put all the weight on each individual experience or performance, um, you can get lost. You can like, beat yourself up, or you can misunderstand how the process of like, um, um, sports kind of plays out, right? But it's like you just get back and you do it again and you do it again. It's really like a basic process. Um, but yeah, we're in the process. Podcasts Monday and Wednesday, put them out Tuesday, Thursday. Last time I talked to somebody, they say, "Hey, you have you done a podcast recently?" I said, "Yeah, every Tuesday, Thursday." So if we're consistent, just talking about it, I think we're gonna like impact a lot of it. So
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like people are listening and stuff. I think it's awesome. And the thing is that there's a huge difference between golf and wrestling. I mean, you and I both are gigantic wrestling people. Like, I mean, that was my life for a long
yeah.
time, and it was a part of your life for a long time. And golf has been my life since I met my wife, Marianne. I never golfed before I met her, but like today, I wanted to take one of my clubs and just snap it over my leg. But
I was
that would be the integrity of the sport. Is just that's not how it's done. You look at
yeah.
those guys on TV every Sunday. I mean, they just want to snap something, but they can't. Sometimes they do, but like today, I just was horrific. But the difference is, though, it's a different form of aggression. Wrestling is true aggression. It's like I was watching some kid the other day on an interview, and he said wrestling is like a fist fight just with your hands. You can't double your fist. He goes, but you got your hands are like it's a form of fist fighting and hand fighting, and then the ability for these kids to get off the bottom. They said it's like a guy on top of you that hates you and he just wants to break you down. And people, there's a lot of that. People just don't understand that it's the most physically brutal sport there is, and it's just it's a way of it turns into a way of life for people. I mean, like I'm going to be 60 years old and I still watch wrestling day and night, and you and
Yeah.
I talk about it. I mean, it's the greatest thing there is, but you
Well, I
know,
was going to ask you though, what do you think about the fact how, obviously you're explaining it correctly, and like how important it is to like create like a sustainable trajectory. How like a lot of people get into wrestling at the youth level and they like get really into it, but they burn out or whatever just like you said, it becomes part of you because it's a process that
they
you
just
become okay with.
yeah, and your whole family has to be part of it, because if your family's not part of it, you're not going to succeed. You have
Yeah.
to have people there that are going to back you up. Somebody's like my mom was just incredible. Like when I was cutting weight, she was like spot on for what I could eat and stuff. And I mean, it's just you got to have it's a whole group, of people that have to help you, because it's you can't go out on Friday nights. You know, you can't go
Yeah.
out. Yeah, it's just you got to stay at home and you got to make weight, and it's the greatest thing there is. But people just don't get it. I mean, and the problem is too is like the really really good wrestlers in high school don't understand, because they can do almost anything to a kid. But when you get into college, besides a couple of high school kids that beat college kids this weekend that we'll talk about, but when you
Yeah.
get into college, I mean, the two things are hand fighting and getting off the mat. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the two biggest obstructions that you have to fight through. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to college wrestling this week, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a great segue. So going into that, what you're mentioning was some high school kids beating college wrestlers. So that happened this weekend. That's pretty insane. So going into the NCAA season, NCAA wrestling, Iowa wrestled this weekend. All the Big Ten schools wrestled
Yeah.
this weekend. Illinois. And so which ones did you watch first? And then
Well, I watched Illinois Navy. I watched Wisconsin and Lindenwood. I watched Iowa and Cal Baptist. And then I watched a few of the tournaments. I watched the Clarion Open. And I mean, how about the freaking junior that just took Ramos out?
yeah,
Right? I
I
mean,
didn't watch it. You saw the match?
yeah, I saw the whole match. Once I found out that he won, it was 4-1. I went back and watched the whole match, and the scramble. You got to look at the scramble was incredible. The kid's a junior in high school.
Yeah.
This kid last year beat Spencer Lee in the semifinals to go to the national tournament finals. You
Yeah.
know, and then this Bo Bassett kid, who's a sophomore, he won the Clarion Open too. There's two
Yeah,
high
he
school
did.
kids. I mean, the last high school phenom to be part of anything was Kerry Colott. He won the Midlands back. I was actually at the Midlands when he won it. I don't know, can't remember when it was, but Kerry Colott was a high school phenom. But then when he got into college, he kind of struggled and transferred to a few schools and stuff like that. But I don't even know if he became. I think he became an All-American. But yeah, I mean, but I think we're going to see more and more of this to these
Yeah,
open
for sure.
tournaments.
Well, you bring up a funny thing. So I went back a little bit and I found some of my matches from high school, and we transferred on them, put them on DVDs a while back. So I was watching it, and I was just looking at my technique, and it was so bad. It was so bad. And even I talked to Brandon Lazdowski about this a little bit, about like how we were successful wasn't based on all of it wasn't always based on our skill. We were more determined to win as opposed to having all the tools necessarily. Um, but like today, my skills are, very, very good. And I think what's happening today is more individuals are getting like one-on-one lessons. Like I've been wrestling this kid, Jimmy Masney, for a while. And he has, like, I never got to wrestle somebody as good as I am for that long of a period of time, consistently. When I got to high school, I started wrestling with Rob Anderson like every day.
Yeah.
And that really like helped me get like a man's feel. Like I understood what it meant to be in a battle. Right. And yeah, I think that's happening. I mean, you're talking about Bo Bassett. He's getting coached by Jody Stripmatter, who I mean, he's an Iowa guy, pretty good, and I'm sure that they wrestle a lot. It's definitely helping these kids get fast, like big. They're getting better quicker, and then obviously the tournaments and the media coverage to make everybody kind of compete and participate. I think that's a big deal. What do you think is causing? I mean, what do you think is behind? Because we see locally, sometimes we see wrestling as a collective regress, but the individuals that are coming out of the state series or the state tournaments and stuff they look like they're better than they've ever been, skill wise.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think a lot of it's year-round wrestling. I mean, even when I was coaching, we had year-round wrestling, but I also, most of my kids played another sport, which I think is vitally important. And you and I have differences about this, but I think multiple sports in high school are a great thing for kids so they can have some time to whatever, I mean, and just be competitive in two different sports. But I mean, it's just the level of wrestling is unbelievable. But but just think of all the kids that fall by the wayside too, though, because
Yeah. So,
it's a horrible grind. I mean, it's not a horrible grind. It's a great grind if you can handle it,
well,
but
here's what I would say. So, like, I don't necessarily ever disagree, like, fully with that idea, right? So, like, my opinion is really just if a kid is invested in wrestling, then okay, then don't talk them out of it.
right.
Like a lot of people are always trying to sell kids on getting into football or getting into track, or if you're a football player, then you do track. And it's like, listen, I don't care what people do. If they want to play other sports, right? Hopefully that they bring their same attention to detail and work ethic to those other things, and they'll enjoy it. I love golf, right? So I bring that same focus and process to how I get good at golf too. But at the same time, when I was in high school, there was nothing else I wanted to do but get good at wrestling. And like I've had kids that come up to me and say they want to be a state champion, or they want to go to college and wrestle at Division I. And it's like, okay, you can, but there's only so much time in a day, and there's so many months in a year, and there's only so many spots that you can compete for to be in those positions. So there's a quote that says, if your dreams and habits, if your habits, what is it? Your behavior, if your habits don't reflect your dreams and goals, change your habits or change your dreams and goals, right? So you have to just be honest with the process. It took me a lot of work to become really good at wrestling. Guys that I wrestled with, like, at Hononiga, Steve Dwyer, Rob Finnicle. I mean, some of those guys played football, but like, I don't think Steve did.
No, he didn't.
Steve would have been great at football,
He'd have
right?
been a
Like
great defensive lineman. He'd have
I mean,
killed people.
he would have been unbelievable. But when you're focused on a goal, you have to focus on it. And so I just think that if a kid you got to be honest with your dream, like with all the goals and the processes and stuff. And some people, like, I went to college with John Durgo. John Durgo was the best football player and the best wrestler. He's great. So you always open the possibility to the athlete surprising you, or not just surprising you, just showing that they can, right? This Iowa heavyweight, right? He's a football player and a wrestler.
Yeah,
Hey, dude, that dude's an animal. He
yeah, Brent
has to be.
Cooter. I
You
was
can't
when
just do that.
we were at the World Cup last year, and he was volunteering, and I said, "Man, I think he's 6'4", 6'5". She goes, "No," and I walked right up next to him, and I went like this with my hand. I'm like, "I think he's 6'5". And
Yeah.
Marianne's like, "Oh my God, I think he is." And he was only 220 then. I bet he's
Yeah.
probably close to 230, 240 now in the
Yeah.
football program.
So what do you think about that Iowa? They're supposed to today or tomorrow, they're
Yeah,
supposed to
it's
make
the
some
8th,
site the
November 8th.
okay, the 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to make a decision on what's happening. We don't really know what's happening in the Iowa duel. Obviously, Tony Cassiope didn't get to wrestle, or he didn't wrestle. We don't know if he didn't get to wrestle or if whatever is happening.
Well,
We
Tom
don't know
Brands wasn't
anything.
even there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was Terry Brands and the other two coaches,
Okay.
Morningstar and
Yeah, the heavyweight.
yeah, the heavyweight. But yeah,
Crazy.
they were there, and I think that they're gonna find that, if you're not betting on your sport, which in wrestling, what the hell? How are you gonna find a place to bet a wrestling match? But
Yeah.
if you're not betting on your sport and you're above age to bet, you probably shouldn't be betting in college. And they've been told that. What I've heard, they've been told that. But I think hopefully it works out for the best, because it's how you mean to tell me in this entire United States that only Iowa has college athletes that might have bet on a few sports. I mean, and there's a lineman for Iowa, this Noah Shannon. It's unbelievably tough, and he's been setting out and he could have maybe went in the draft last year, but he decided to stay back and play football for Iowa. And hopefully they say he's good to go, because he could still play a little bit more of the year in the bowl game. But I don't know. It's a lesson this is gonna be taught to a lot of people of what
Yeah.
happened. But they're great kids. The Iowa Hawkeyes need them. I mean, those guys. I mean,
Yeah, like if anything, like I think I don't understand. Like, did they break a law? Whatever that law was, what are the
I don't
punishment
know
is?
a law. I don't know if they broke a law or if they broke an
Yeah.
ethical thing that was told them at the university. This is, you cannot bet, during
Well, no, I
during the
think
season or
I
during.
if I'm not mistaken, one of them was underage or something,
Oh,
right?
that was an Iowa State kid.
Yeah, right. But
He
only
got, yeah.
one.
Well,
But that's what I'm saying. Only one person actually was doing something that wasn't legal, and the other aspect is, I was gonna say, like, don't you think that, you're following the Michigan football thing?
yeah.
So do you think that like, so isn't that just another component of like NCAA regulation and like oversight? Like the schools though, like, Iowa's a huge brand. It's one of the only sports wrestling programs in the country that makes, $500,000 a dual meet or something like
Yeah,
that, right? Like
they
they
sell
make,
out.
yeah, so they're
Plus, they
they're
got
make
alcohol sales now too, so they really make money.
yeah, so the entity, college wrestling needs Iowa wrestling, right? Like
Oh, they
it's like,
do.
so it's one of those things that I feel like the universities are gonna have some, I want to say pull, right? Like have some sort of like, hey, NCAA, we help, keep the doors open. Why
Yeah,
would you do that to us? Especially when, like I said, the only kid and it's the only schools that are being investigated on this stuff is Iowa State and Iowa. So
Yep.
it's the hypocrisy around who's, you know, um,
I've been very
being picked, being
I've
looked
been
at.
very mum about it because I want to wait and see how it plays out. But I hope it works out for those, yeah, those young men and women. Or no, there's no women, but young men. That, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. We'll talk about it after the decision has been made, right?
Yeah. No, we will come back to that in another
We
couple weeks. I mean, hopefully a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but then talking about Illinois flag waving in your back. Did you get to watch that dual meet?
Which one?
Illinois versus Navy.
Yeah, not so good.
Not so good for Illinois,
I
but
I told you after they wrestled Edwardsville, I'm like, man, they've got some issues.
well, from what I understand, Bird at 33 is injured,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, I think he's injured, and then looks like their 25-pounders injured a little bit, but he won versus Navy. Um, the freshman wrestled, and that was, Cannon Webster. Did
Yeah, he's
did you
tough.
watch that? Yeah, really tough for a freshman. I mean, just to be able to compete like he did against a kid from Navy, like I would assume that the Navy kids are unique in the sense that even on top of wrestling, they're like military trained, right? So it's like,
I think the coach is Kerry Colon.
yeah. Gary,
So we're
yeah. I
just
mean,
talking about him. He was a high school phenom that won the
yeah.
Midlands.
I think I honestly, if I could go through high school again, I would go to Kerry. I would, wherever Kerry Collette was, I would go to college there. I mean, I think he's the best college coach outside of Cal Sanderson and John Smith. I think I would pick it. He's so smooth and so good with his technique and mentality and just approach.
Yeah.
I really think he's good, but he's got a good team right now. But don't you think that those Navy kids, like, they train regardless of wrestling practice,
Oh
right?
yeah, without a doubt.
So
They're
on
going to protect
top of,
our country.
yeah, so on top of wrestling, that kid that he majored the wrestler, the guy from Navy. So
You know,
yeah,
it's Illinois. They're good. They're putting money into a new facility. They're doing the right things. They just got to keep the kids from Illinois here. And I'm an
yeah.
Iowa guy. I mean, totally, I'm an Iowa guy. But you see the flag flying back here because Marianne's family's from Illinois. I call it Iowa during deer hunting season. That's what
Yeah.
the I is.
Yeah. It's just
It's
deer hunting season,
deer hunting
Iowa.
season right in Iowa. But yeah,
That's
I
funny.
mean, I would just love to see them become competitive. Competitive. I was at Northwestern when they won the Big Ten title back in the
Two, it was
early '90s, early
no.
'90s.
They won it again when Mike Poeta was a freshman or sophomore. Alex Terapelli was on the team.
Okay.
He was, remember he got second. Matt Lackey, I
Yep.
think, was on that team.
Yeah.
Tyrone Bird was on that team. And I knew a bunch of um, um, Brian Glenn was on that team, I think. Mark Jane was on that team. They won Big Tens that year. Pete Friedel, you
Yeah.
remember that team?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember that team?
Yeah, I
That
do.
team was good. That was one of the teams that got me to go to Illinois, right? So out of high school, 2006, I went to Illinois. They had a great program. It was, it's been good, especially individually wise, right? Just collectively. And like you said, it's, you gotta, the recruiting process is such an interesting thing because, some of these other schools have,
Gold to give to them.
They do, and
right?
then with the new rules, a lot of things are, making it very difficult to compete as far as like again, Ben Davino, he wrestled for a guy who went to Illinois. He
Right.
wrestled for Potter, Jason Potter. I believe Jason Potter was an All-American at Illinois.
Illinois.
I'd have to double check when, but I know he was there and he was doing really well. But yeah, so how does that happen? I know the situation that probably got him to go to Ohio State was potentially financial.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that aspect of like college wrestling coming into it? How do you get all the guys? If you're the head wrestling coach at Illinois, what are you doing to keep everybody
In the
there?
state.
Yeah, when you know that other schools are spending big dollars to get them.
Yeah, they're going to have to get some big finances, right? They're going to have to find some people that are going to invest. I mean, that's what it's coming down to in all
Yeah,
sports. I mean,
yeah, especially college right now.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I would love to see Illinois become competitive again. I used to love going down there the night before the state tournament and watching a dual meet. And then I would be, when they would wrestle up in Wisconsin, I'd go up and watch them and stuff.
Yeah,
Again, I will always say that even though I'm a Hawkeye fan, the next level is Illinois. So I mean, I love this. I mean, the state of Illinois has bar none one of the best high school state tournaments there is. I don't care what anybody else says, but there are tough kids in this state.
yeah, I would agree. And yeah, I hope the best comes. And I think just Big Ten wrestling is continuing to grow.
Oh yeah,
So, um, but yeah, so let's finish up. High school wrestling season
started
started
today.
today. Today was the first day. Hopefully, I get this put up. I'll probably put it up still tomorrow, but for those listening, Monday, November 6th is opening day, opening practice of high school IHSA state series or state wrestling. It started. So I was going to pull this up. Let me pull this up real quick. The first duel, so just from the conference, the Nick 10 conference, the first duel is on November 21st.
Usually the day before Thanksgiving.
Yep. So here, let me share this with you. Yeah, so you see this, right?
I
First
do.
week is right here. We got Harlem Jefferson at Belvedere. No, let me see. Gray's home. So Harlem Jefferson, it's
21st.
at Harlem. There we go.
Hananiga doesn't have a match on that day, huh?
Yeah, they don't. They're
Oh
the
no,
next
wait. I'm
day.
sorry. They got the next day. It's the 22nd.
Yeah, their opening day is the 22nd.
So that
Everybody,
must be the day before Thanksgiving.
I don't know. Isn't Thanksgiving?
When's Thanksgiving?
Yep, the 23rd. You're
Yeah,
right.
so the 22nd. Yep. I think it's a home
Yep.
meet at Hananiga.
Yep. Home meet at Hananiga, and Coach DeMoss sent me that. So we'll have to figure out how. Like, I'll definitely go to that one. And hopefully you're up
You
there.
better call the AD at Hananiga and maybe we could set up a table and do a little talk beforehand.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll see what we can get done, especially because it's only head to head, Hananiga versus
Yeah, and
East.
usually they have alumni night too for Hananiga, so you might have some alum there that were halfway decent when they were high school wrestlers.
That might be
We got a
pretty.
few of them.
Yeah, you do have a few. That'll be pretty exciting. Yeah, so let's I'll plan on that one for sure.
Yeah,
And we're gonna put together another schedule and see some of these other conferences still too. So I know you said you're gonna get up there this week to look at maybe stop in and check out practice or
yeah,
something
maybe
like
this
that.
week or next week. The weather's so darn good right now. I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
that's golfing right now.
Yeah.
I didn't play well today. I should probably sell my clubs, but I think I'll keep them.
Yeah, I was struggling with the idea of going out, like ending the season on that note. It doesn't feel good about it. I might play in the snow just to try to correct my errors. Yeah.
I
But
like I told you, we were talking about going down into Tennessee this November. Thank
mhm.
God we didn't go because it's beautiful here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right now for sure.
Yeah, next maybe 2 weeks we might be have good weather. So
Yeah, that would be good. So we'll get out to some of these duels and then we'll
yep.
get to see where these guys are weight
Yeah.
class wise and how the teams line up.
Good luck to all the Honega kids and all the other kids that are coming out for wrestling.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how many like each program kind of gets. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to like, track it. Let's see how many kids we start with and how many kids we end with. I think that would be pretty cool to see.
And another thing too, all the coaches in the conference, if you want to come on and be on our podcast, Dalton will get a hold of you. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You guys got to get on and promote your programs.
Yeah, just come on, chat about who's on your team and
Yeah,
where you guys are competing at, so we can learn about the program, see how we can help, try to get more kids out for wrestling and more kids chasing the aspirational components of wrestling.
for sure.
But all right, Marty,
Awesome.
we
All
can
right.
finish up there and we'll chat soon.
All right. Good talking.